there's a lot of stuff that's happening, and I think people discount the significance of the ruling that we had from Judge Amon. The fact that in that ruling, she declared that Pulsechain does not lie under the purview of the SEC. That's some of the biggest financial news that I've ever heard, right? All of these things are not securities. And now you have what is going to be a stable coin that doesn't fall under the purview of the United States government. That is a monster. If I was Richard and Maria, I would distance myself from this as fast as I could so I didn't get killed. Right? This gives emerging markets and emerging countries the ability to stabilize value and not have funds frozen. You know, when you look at what happened in Russia, Ukraine, and they froze $300 billion of Russian assets, that's when the movement really kicked off for people wanting to get out of the SWIFT system because of the counterparty risk. You now have something that can stabilize your value outside of somebody being able to sanction you. So if I had anything to do with it, I would distance myself, right? I would act crazy. I would make erratic tweets. If I was Maria, I would go batshit crazy, just like we've seen in some of the tweets. I mean, it's nonsensical when you read it, right? But I wouldn't want anything to do with any of that. So that's how people end up in ditches, man. Like, this is the biggest thing. And people are saying it, but they're not really grasping the magnitude of what's happened. And, you know, I said in a previous interview with you, Stephen, the former head of the World Bank, that Eric Bethel, said the future of finance is sufficiently decentralized blockchains. Right? And what do we have? There's not a chain out there. Like Solana's been rolled back. That was proven during FTX. They rolled back those transactions so Alameda Capital could get squared up, right? I have questions about what happened with the founder of Telegram and Tron. You know, they captured him in France, and then all of a sudden there starts to be changes to the Ton blockchain. What happened? Did you allow for implementation into the chain so people can freeze funds? Right? And when you have a blockchain, the only viable blockchain that's ever been created is Ethereum. And we are a fork of Ethereum, right? But we're sufficiently decentralized. So let's look at this with context, man. This is the future of finance. You think this isn't going to get rowdy? This is going to be nuts. And, you know, people wonder what to do. I've been providing liquidity. The volatility on some of my pairs and the volume, man, I'm getting it every day. If you believe in this, stand up, stand on your 2 feet, start providing liquidity on V2. If you're speaking this, live your truth. I mean, I'm all across the ATROPA ecosystem providing liquidity. So all this volatility is fantastic for me. And I'm not leaving, man. I'm here till I die or the chain dies. Pick one, right?
Yep.
I am not leaving. So there comes a moment in time where you have to decide what you believe in. I've chosen my path. Stephen, you've obviously chosen yours. You've been very verbal about this, and I really appreciate that people are taking a stand here, right? If you want to be the future, be a part of it. Get into V2, even with a minimal amount. I mean, I saw the volatility or the volume index on one of the pairs I'm in, you know, like when pDAI was, when it was like 2 or 3 cents, the volume was only like 46,000. Well, we have had like a 90 a 90, excuse me, a 90%, 95, 99% collapse. The volume's 247,000. Now, you say, well, 47 to 247, what is that? Oh, that's only like a 6x? So, but it's a matter of token count. So I got 200, we've had a 99% drawdown, and all I care about is token count. So I went from not getting much to getting a massive amount of tokens. Because if you're looking at the volume in that pair with the prices down, right, that chart looks exponential. And all I care about is moving it out of the hands of the weak and into my hands, because I'm here, baby. I'm stabilizing it, right? So this is the things that everybody can do. If you're here and you want to stand on business, you want to believe in this, be a part of it, right? Get into V2, provide liquidity.
And Bud, from your perspective, there's two things that I hear when you talk. The one is, let's look at the chart. I'm not worried yet. Is pDAI where we want it to be? No, probably not. I think we'd all prefer a higher price, especially those of us who have been holding for some time. But look at the chart. pDAI has survived 99% down. This is, we're still in an uptrend, right? Like we're not seeing anything from that perspective. And I don't think enough people talk about that, right? Again, I could be proven wrong. We could see way more dips. Okay, so be it. That's how it's going to be. But to your previous point, there's even more, the glaring example of governmental control conspiracy, right, is DAI creator, ETH DAI creator. If you look at that guy's history, he wound up dead in 8 inches of water or something, a day after he posted some things that looked an awful lot like what Maria was posting, said he was being followed and stalked and people were going to, plant things on it. And the guy's dead. Right. And we talked about it then years back. We talked about, wow, that's odd. That's strange. And I think we've lost track of the bigger picture in that, yes, this has the potential to mint millionaires. Yes, absolutely. But the bigger picture of this is, if we just for a moment, I know I haven't thought about it for a while. We go back to that flywheel example that we talked about, where pDAI can become a flywheel effect that 9 Iron Capital and so many others talked about, where the price comes up and then we pour it into pairs and we can borrow from the pairs and we can pump the price and then the price goes up and we can kind of repeat the process over and over. I don't think people talk about it enough because the implications of it are enormous. Like it's the potential for this project. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Literally anything can happen. It isn't that wonderful. But the potential for this is the largest, not just crypto impact. Like if we take this to a potential eventuality, it's the largest financial news available. It is creating not just, oh, wow, like our chain's better than your chain. Oh, we flip Solana, whatever. Yeah. All that and a bag of chips, right? It is it has the potential to become an entirely parallel financial system that has functions very similar to our current financial system, which, let's get real, the US dollar holds an iron fist over. There's a lot of people that aren't going to want that. So the fact that RH and other devs are purposely distancing themselves, I think is probably a very smart move on their part. And then again, if Richard can be the creator of the chain where these magical things happen and he can in a later live stream go, who knows? Who knows how that happened? That's great for him, right? He'll always be the creator of Pulsechain where that thing can happen without necessarily having a target on his back. That's just my thoughts.
Well, let's look at what RH's stated goal was: to change man's relationship with money. What is the current relationship? We live in a feudal system. You think those assets in your wallets are safe on Ethereum? Proven to not be true because they can be frozen, right? That's a feudal system. A allodial title means nobody can take your stuff from you. That is what has been created.